Okay, let's take a look at some of the top business news stories we're following for you. Cole Stangler joins me from the business desk. Hi there.
Hey, Tom.
Let's begin here in France. Very tough results in the regional elections for the president's inner circle. More and more of them are putting a major economic reform back on the table. Tell us more.
Yeah, so they're talking, of course, about pension reform, a controversial issue, of course, set aside by the government at the beginning of the COVID crisis. Whether it should be revived or not ahead of next year's presidential election has been debated for months now, but according to French paper Les Echos, those talks now reaching a fever pitch. One proposal gaining traction would see a hike in the earliest possible age at when most French workers can retire from 62 to 64. Among others, it's backed by Economy Minister Bruno Le Maire. Selena Sykes has more.
After being shelved for over a year, Emmanuel Macron's controversial pension reform is back on the table. The idea of increasing the retirement age in France from 62 to 64 is gaining traction, though public opinion remains mixed.
I like my job, so working until I'm 64 isn't an issue.
I'm retiring as soon as I can.
I'm prepared to protest to avoid reaching a point where we're still working at 70.
According to French newspaper Les Echos, the government wants to move fast and put its proposal up for a vote in the coming months. The plan would see a transitional phase over the next few years. People born in 1961 would work for 6 months longer, while those born in 1964 would see their retirement age shoot up by 2 years. A move which could see people back on the streets protesting like the end of 2019 and early 2020, with now under a year to go until the presidential election. Many trade unions are still against the idea of reviving the pension reform.
The president needs to explain to people born in 1961 who should be retiring in 2 or 3 years that they'll be working 6 months longer. For everyone else who's less than 5 years away from retirement, they might be working a year or even 2 years longer.
The government reportedly hopes the reform could save the state €14 billion by 2026 and could be proposed in the social security budget as early as this autumn.
Well, staying here in France, where President Macron is holding the 4th ever Choose France Summit. It's an annual gathering with foreign executives in Versailles designed to show off the country's business credentials, but also to encourage firms to announce new investments in France. According to the Élysée, this year's edition features 22 new projects worth some 3.5 billion euros. Among the highlights, a Chinese firm plans to build a factory in northern France to supply Renault with batteries for electric cars. While German retailer Zalando plans to build a logistics center it says will create more than 2,000 new jobs. Let's take a look now at some of the day's trading action, starting with the major European indexes, which had some losses to kick off the week. COVID concerns weighing on investors here. The FTSE down around 0.9% in London. Shares on the CAC 40 down about a full percent. Wall Street also with a muted start to the week. Tech-heavy NASDAQ in positive territory, but losses on the Dow Jones and the S&P holding just about even. Bitcoin now, interestingly, also proving to be fairly resilient. That's despite British financial regulators moving to ban Binance. That's the world's top cryptocurrency exchange. Bitcoin, though, is still trading, as you can see there, at over $34,000. Next up, e-cigarette giant Juul has agreed to a landmark settlement in the U.S. The company will pay some $40 million to the state of North Carolina after being accused of deceptive marketing practices aimed at young people. While Juul hasn't admitted any wrongdoing, the deal also prohibits it from advertising to anyone in the state under the age of 21. It's the first such settlement Juul has reached with a state government in the U.S. Also one applauded by North Carolina's Attorney General. He said it was, quote, holding Juul accountable for its instrumental role in creating a youth vaping epidemic. And finally to Greece, where authorities have rolled out a new incentive to boost vaccinations against COVID. According to a plan unveiled by the country's prime minister, Greeks under the age of 26 will receive €150 of credit after getting a first shot of the vaccine. It'll go on a digital wallet that can be used for travel and entertainment, including concerts, plays, and museum visits. A move that's also designed to lift a struggling tourism sector. Those hoping to take advantage will have to submit an application first.
Ένα μικρό ευχαριστώ λοιπόν από την ελληνική πολιτεία με μόνο εντός εισαγωγικών, με μόνη υποχρέωση από μεριά σας να κάνετε αυτό που είμαι σίγουρος ότι θα κάνατε ούτως ή αλλιώς. Να πάτε να εμβολιαστείτε για να προστατεύσετε τους εαυτούς σας αλλά και αυτούς που αγαπάτε.
So what's interesting about this, Tom, is we've seen incentives like this in the U.S., the private sector, to get people vaccinated, donuts, beer. But nice to see this is happening in Europe too, to some extent.
Absolutely. I think I've seen one shot for your shot and things like that.
Yes.
Incentives in bars to get people, but no cash up until now.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed, Cole Stanglet from the Business Desk. Thank you for bringing us up to speed. I'll be back in about 4 minutes. Don't go away.
Ever since